Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sargana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Bhagavan Sargana Lita Shri Vishakhanutamscha Namo Vishnu Bhagaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nityamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Charane Vishesha Shunyadi Pachatya Desha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastrabdhi Piyusha Sarva Vedika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya Sarva Lokaika Drikprata Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidhvanto Ditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Premavarshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevya Shri Krishna Namastume Madeka Bandho Matsangim Madguru Madmahadhana Manistarka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Sadhu Sadhu Tadaya Natini Chochatakara Anamunchakadachin Mam Premana Hitkanthayo Spura Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. It appears that the residence of Lord Shiva was not on this planet, but somewhere in outer space. Otherwise, how could Sati have seen the airplanes coming from different directions towards this planet and heard the passengers talking about the great sacrifice being performed by Daksha? Sati is described here as Dakshayani because she was the daughter of Daksha. The mention of Upadeva Varastriyam, Upadeva Varastriyaha. Upadeva Vara refers to inferior demigods. Upadeva Varastriya, the beautiful wives of the Upadeva demigods. Refers to inferior demigods, like the Gandharvas, Kinnaras, and Uragas, who are not exactly demigods. Harival. Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you are
Very
audible.
clear.
I thought Mohan Radhapati Prabhu has a question.
No, bro, I got disconnected actually.
All right, okay. Let me resume. Who are not exactly demigods, but between the demigods and human beings. They were also coming in planes. The word Swanilaya Bhyashe. Swanilaya Bhyashe. Near her abode, near her house. In Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Swanilaya Bhyashe, Swagrihasya Samipe, near her house. They're passing right near her residential quarters. The dress and bodily features of the wives of the heavenly denizens are very nicely described here. Their eyes moved, their earrings and other ornaments glittered and glared. Their dresses were the nicest possible, and all of them had special lockets on their necklaces. Each woman was accompanied by her husband. Thus they looked so beautiful that Sati Dakshayani was impelled to dress similarly and go to the sacrifice with her husband. That is the natural inclination of a woman. 8. Pratyuvacha. प्रजापतेस्तेश्वरस्य साम्प्रतं निर्यापितो यज्ञं महोत्सवः किल वयं च तत्राभिः सराम वामते यज्ञर्थितामि बुधा व्रजन्तिः. Sati said, my dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods, having been invited by him, are going there. If you desire, we may also go. Tatra tava mama va kim prayojanam ata aha tasmin. Where is it? Tasmin bhaganya. Hamcha. Where is Hamcha? Looks like that it's a different reading or what? Or is it different words? Tasmin bhaganya is this. So then what is the comment for this? This is not correct. It's all this. So what is the commentary here? Niryapitaha, pravartitaha. He is conducted. He is conducting. Your father-in-law is initiated or inaugurated a great sacrificial celebration. Te prasiddha yadi ami budha vrajanti. If these famous vibhudas, vibhudas are the highest grade of demigods, such as Indra, vrajanti, if these famous vibhuda demigods are going, ateva, therefore, ateva hetu, therefore, vayamapi tatra abhisarama. So let us also go there. Hey Vama, O Lord Vama. Vama is the name of Lord Shiva. Arthitha, arthit, arthit, tvam, yam, mama, prarthana, ityarthaha. This is my prayer. Prarthita means prarthitavati. Yeah. Sati knew of the tension between her father and her husband, but still she expressed to her husband, Lord Shiva, that since such sacrifices were going on at her father's house and so many demigods were going, she also desired to go. But she could not express her willingness directly, and so she told her husband that if he desired to go, then she could also accompany him. In other words, she submitted her desire very politely to her husband. 9. Tasmin bhaginyo mama bhartrubhih swakayir dhruvam gamishyanti suhrid drikshavah aham cha tasmin bhavatabhikamaye sahopanitam paribarham arhitum. I think that all my sisters must have gone to this great sacrificial ceremony with their husbands just to see their relatives. I also decided to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father and go there with you to participate in that assembly. Tatra tava mama va kim prayojanam. Then she anticipates that Lord Shiva would ask, then what do you or I have to do with this? Then in response to that anticipated response, she speaks this. Tasmin Bhaginya 4.3.9. Tasam sa bhatrikanam arhanam eva mama api sa bhatrikaya arhanam bhavatu iti kamaye ityaha. All of these people, all of these ladies who are going there with their husbands, nicely decorated, let me also be nicely decorated with my husband. They're decorated by their husbands. I also want to be decorated by my husband. And I wish that this be so. Iti kamyetyaha hamcha ityadi. Pitrabhyam upanitam dattam paribarham vastra alankaradi dravyam bhavata saha arhayitum svikartum iti yavat kamaye ichhami. I wish to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father and mother. Father includes mother, or Pitrabhyam. And I wish to go. It is a woman's nature to want to decorate herself with ornaments and nice dresses and accompany her husband to social functions, meet friends and relatives, and enjoy life in that way. This propensity is not unusual. For a woman is the basic principle of material enjoyment. Therefore, in Sanskrit, the word for woman is stri, which means one who expands the field of material enjoyment. In the material world, there is an attraction between woman and man. This is the arrangement of conditional life. A woman attracts a man, and in that way, the scope of material activities involving house, wealth, children, and friendship increases, and thus, instead of decreasing one's material demands, one becomes entangled in material enjoyment. Pumsastriya mitani bhavametam tayor mitah hriday grantimahu ato griha kshetra sutaptavitte janasya mohoy maham mameti. These are all core teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Shiva, however, is different. Therefore, his name is Shiva. He is not at all attracted by material enjoyment, although his wife Sati was the daughter of a very great leader and was given to him by the request of Brahma. Lord Shiva was reluctant. But Sati, as a woman, the daughter of a king, wanted enjoyment. She wanted to go to her father's house, just as her other sisters might have done, and meet them and enjoy social life. Here, she specifically indicated that she would decorate herself with the ornaments given by her father. She did not say that she would decorate herself with the ornaments given by her husband, because her husband was callous about all such matters. Callous means indifferent. He did not know how to decorate his wife and take part in social life because he was always in ecstasy with thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. According to the Vedic system, a daughter is given a sufficient dowry at the time of her marriage, and therefore Sati was also given a dowry by her father, and ornaments were included. Here, Krishna Chakravarti Thakur says that she wants to wear the ornaments that were given by her parents. So from this we understand that dowry is actually meant for the daughter. Dowry is between the parents of the daughter and the daughter. It is also the custom that the husband gives some ornaments, but here it is particularly mentioned that her husband, being materially almost nothing, could not do so. Therefore, she wanted to decorate herself with the ornaments given by her father. It was fortunate for Sati that Lord Shiva did not take the ornaments from his wife and spend them for ganja, because those who imitate Lord Shiva in smoking ganja exploit everything from household affairs. They take all of their wife's property and spend on smoking, intoxication, and similar other activities. 10. Yes. Question. Being Lord Shiva's wife, doesn't she have the same ecstasy? She is demonstrating the dangers. She is teaching women that if you get into a materialistic mode of living, and if you want to be enjoying social life and so on, it might become dangerous. She is demonstrating already. These things will become clear over next chapter itself will become clear why she is. This is one part. This is one aspect that Bhagavatam is reporting. Further reports we'll get in the next chapter. So when you consolidate everything together, we begin to understand why Sati Devi is speaking like this. 10. Tatra swastri me nanu bhaktra samhita matra swastri tvinnadhyam cha mataram drakshye chirotkantham mana maharshibhir punniyamanam cha mridhadhvaradhvajam. My sisters, my mother's sisters, and their husbands, and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them, and I shall be able to see the flapping flags and the performance of the sacrifice by the great sages. For these reasons, my dear husband, I am very much anxious to go. Kim barhana arthini yasati iti tatraha. What? Why do you have a desire to go there? And with the desire for ornamentation and so on, desiring to ornament yourself, why do you want to go there? What is there? Anticipating that, she speaks this, Tatre, Klinnadhyam, Snehardra Chittam. Where is that? Klinnadhyam, affectionate. Snehardra Chittam, Mataram, it's an adjective of Mataram. And I wish to see my mother, whose heart would be wet with affection for me, moistened with affection for me. Unniyamanam pravartamanam madhvareshu madhye dhvajamiva shreshtham. Unniyamanam. प्रवर्तमानम् अधुरेषु मध्ये ध्वजमेव श्रेष्ठं यद्वा उत्क्षिप्यमानो यज्ञकेतु. To be able to see the flapping flags and other indications of a great sacrificial performance, yajnaketu. I wish to see such excellent arrangements within the sacrifice. As stated before, the tension between the father-in-law and son-in-law persisted for a considerable time. Sati had therefore not gone to her father's house for a long while. That she was very anxious to go to her father's house, particularly because on that occasion her sisters and their husbands and her mother's sisters would be there, as is natural for a woman. She wanted to dress equally to her other sisters and also be accompanied by her husband. She did not, of course, want to go alone. 11. त्वय्येतदाश्चर्यं मजात्ममायया विनिर्मितं भाति गुणत्रयात्मकं तथाप्यहं योषिद्ध तत्त्वविच्यते दीनादृक्षे भवमे भवक्षितिं. This manifested cosmos is a wonderful creation of the interaction of the three material modes of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. This truth is fully known to you, yet I am but a poor woman, and as you know, I am not conversant with the truth. Therefore, I wish to see my birthplace once more. Atyashcharyamidam yat tavapi prakritalokasya bandhushu eva tavan moha. Then she thinks that her husband would be thinking, oh, it's most astonishing that even you, just like a materialistic soul, has so much of a delusion with regards to your relatives. So she speaks this current verse. Tvai iti. Hey Aja. Oh unborn Lord Shiva. Etat mohadikam. Tava atmaramatvat tvai eva aschariyam bhati. This delusion and so on seems very astonishing to you, to only you, because you are an Atmarama. Asmakam tu swabhavika eva ayam dharma iti bhava. But for us, it is very natural to have these qualities. This is the implication. Yataha gunatrayatmakamidam vishvam atamaya vinirmitaha vinirmitam 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 ato muhyati eva iti bhavaha. Because this universe, this world, which is composed of the three modes of material nature, has been created by your own Maya potency. Therefore, certainly it is bewildering. That is the implication. Tathapi etam vishvamadhyepi aham yoshya. And on top of that, within this universe, I am a woman. Tatrapi dina. On top of it, I am a wretched soul. Bhavak shittin janma bhumim didrikshe. And therefore, I have a desire to see my place of birth. Hey Bhava, O Lord Bhava. Dakshayani Sati knew very well that her husband, Lord Shiva, was not very much interested in the glaring manifestation of the material world, which is caused by the interaction of the three modes of nature. Therefore, she addressed her husband as Aja, which refers to one who has transcended the bondage of birth and death, or one who has realized its eternal position. She stated, the illusion of accepting the perverted reflection, the material or cosmic manifestation to be real is not present in you because you are self-realized. For you, the attraction of social life and the consideration that someone is father, someone is mother, and someone is sister, which are illusory relationships, are already over. But because I'm a poor woman, I'm not so advanced in transcendental realization. Therefore, naturally, these appear to me as real. Only less intelligent persons accept this perverted reflection of the spiritual world to be real. Those who are under the spell of the external energy accept this manifestation to be fact. Whereas those who are advanced in spiritual realization know that it is illusion. Actual reality is elsewhere, in the spiritual world. But as far as I am concerned, Sati said, I do not have much knowledge about self-realization. I'm poor because I do not know the actual facts. I'm attracted by my birthplace and I want to see it. One who has attraction for his birthplace, for his body, and for other such items mentioned in the Bhagavatam is considered to be like an ass or a cow. Yasyatma buddhi konapetri dhatuke. So Bhagavatam's position is that those who have such attractions are actually as animalistic as an ass or a cow. Sati might have heard all this many times from her husband, Lord Shiva, but because she was a woman, Yoshit, she still hankered to the same material objects of affection. The word Yoshit means one who is enjoyed. Therefore, woman is called Yoshit. In spiritual advancement, association with Yoshit is always restricted. Because if one is like a play doll in the hands of Yoshit Kridam Mriga, then all his spiritual advancement is at once stopped. Asatsangatyage Vaishnavachar, Stri Sangi ek asadhu, Krishna Bhakta ar. It is said, those who are just like playthings in the hands of a woman, Yoshit Kridam Mrigeshu, cannot make any advancement in spiritual realization. Not in Brahman realization, not in Paramatma realization, not in Bhagavan realization. Yes.
Prabhu, this plaything means he will do whatever the woman is saying.
Yeah, when one is attracted to a woman in any of the various types of relationships that one might have, then naturally one will tend to follow. One will tend to make the woman happy in this way, that way, there, like that. It goes on. Okay. 12. Pashya prayanti rabhavanya yoshito pyalankrita kanta sakhavaruthashaha yasam rajadbhi shitikantha manditam nabho vimanai kalahamsa pandubhi. Oh, never born, oh, blue-throated one. Not only my relatives, but also other women dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Na kevalam aham akaitava. What is adrishi? Akaitava adrishi. Wait. What is this verse? 12. Kevalam aham eva akaitava adrishi. Ityaha. It's not that I'm the only one who's like this. Look at all these other ladies. Pashyete. He abhavete. Sukrit viyodukam tvaya na anubhutam iti bhavaha. You are abhava. You are never born. You don't have birth and death. So you do not experience the distress of being separated from your well-wishers. Anya yoshitaha sambandha rahita api kanta sakha bhartr sahita varuthashaha sanghashaha. There are so many other women here who are not related to me at all, but they are all having their beloved as their respective beloveds as their friends, which means they are going with their husbands in groups. Yasam vimanair vrajadbhihi nabho manditam. And the sky is being beautifully decorated by the vimanas in which they are all traveling. He Shitikantheti Paranugrahaya Tvaya Vishamapi Bhakshitam. You are Shitikantha, blue-throated one. Out of your compassion for others, you have even consumed poison. Ataha Agyandehi Tibhava. So please command me, please permit me. This is the implication. Here, Lord Shiva is addressed as Abhava, which means one who is never born. Although generally he is known as Bhava, one who is born. Rudra, Lord Shiva, is actually born from between the eyes of Brahma, who is called Swayambhu, because he is not born of any human being or material creature, but is born directly from the lotus flower which grows from the abdomen of Vishnu. When Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries, one who has never experienced the distress of birth. Sati wanted to impress upon her husband that even those who are not related to her father were also going, to say nothing of herself, who was intimately related with him. Lord Shiva is addressed here as blue-throated. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it in his throat, not swallowing it or allowing it to go down to his stomach. And thus his throat became blue. That itself is a pastime of Lord Shiva. Since then, he has been known as Nilakantha or blue-throated. Shitikantha, Nilakantha, these are all names of Lord Shiva. The reason that Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison was for others' benefit. But when the ocean was churned by the demigods and the demons, the churning at first produced poison. So because a poisonous ocean might have affected others who were not so advanced, Lord Shiva drank all the ocean water. In other words, he could drink such a great amount of poison for others' benefit. And now, since his wife was personally requesting him to go to her father's house, even if he did not wish to give that permission, he should do so out of his great kindness. Yes. Yes, there was a question. No question? Okay. 13. Katham sutaya pitrgeha kautukam nishamya deha suravarya nengate anahuta apyabhiyanti sauhridam bhartur deha kritascha ketanam. O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Aham tu tasya kanya bhutva katham dhairyam dhasyam ityaha kathamiti. But I am his daughter. Being his daughter, how do you expect me to be sober? With all this in mind, she speaks katham. Kathamiti. Nengati na drashtum prachalati. Nengati. How can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed? It means not want to go to see. Nanu tadapi anahuta katham gachamaha. But we have not been invited. How can we go? Tatraha. He says, anahuta. Even though we have not been invited, even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, anahuta, without being called, even without being called, sauhridam suhridah ketanam griham. How can we not go to the house of a friend, a husband, a spiritual master, or the father who has given the body? Guru, Shvasharasya, Dehakrita, Pituscha. Here, Guru, spiritual master, refers to one's father-in-law, Shvashura. 14. Tanme praside dam amartya vanchitam kartum bhavan karuniko batarati त्वयात्मनोर्धेहम् अदभ्रचक्षुषा निरूपिता मानुगृहाण याचितः. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. Yadi te nasti jigamisha. All right, you may not have any desire to go. Tadapi, still, mat anurodhena kripaya gacha. But on my request, kindly go. With this in mind, she speaks. Ityataha tanma iti tanme. By Santi it becomes ma. Iti tanme. Hey Amartya. O immortal one. O immortal Lord. O immortal of God. Deva. Tvaya akartavyam api kritam. You have done that which is not meant to be done. Ityataha. With this in mind, she speaks. Adabhra chakshusha. Adabhra chakshusha. Analpa jnanena. Atma. This is Artam. Well, something is wrong. This is 14. 14. What is wrong with this? Analpa jnanena Atma Ramena api. Atma Ramena api. Atmanaha dehasya adhyaham nirupita dhrita. Yataha arthanarishwariti khyataha asi. Ataha mam. You have the eye of unadulterated knowledge, extensive knowledge. In other words, you are an aparama. Despite that, you have accepted me as half of your body. You are very well known as Ardhanarishwara, half Shiva, half Parvati. Ataha mam. So therefore, I humbly request you, please be kind to me. ऋषिरुवाच एवं गिरित्रः प्रिययाभिभाषित प्रत्यभ्यधत्त प्रहसन् सुहृत्प्रिय संस्मारितो मर्मभिदः को वागिशून् यानाः को विश्वसृजां समक्षतः. The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailasa, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Daksha before the guardians of the universal affairs. Kaha refers to Daksha. Kaha Dakshaha. Yanaha tan marmabhidaha katu vaksharan priyaya smaritaha. Is this correctly typed? Priyaya smaritaha. Priyaya smaritaha. So he has been reminded by his beloved wife about the heart-piercing words that had been spoken by Daksha. Now, Daksha prayukta katuvagishavaha Shri Shivasya Aparamasya marma katham bhidanti. How is it that the arrow-like harsh words employed by Daksha could pierce the heart of Sri Shiva, who is an Atmarama, Uchyate? The answer is as follows. Shivasya Parameshwaratva Atmaramatvam Astyeva. Shiva is the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Certainly he is an Atmarama. Tamoguna-yuktvatvacha kadachit paramaishwarya anusandhane sati shoka moha raga dvesha adeha vibhavanti. Because he is connected to Tamoguna. Sometimes when he is not contemplating about his supreme nature, then there is the appearance of shoka, moha, raga, dvesha, and so on. तथैव कृष्णस्य सदा एव आत्मारामत्वे अपि श्री यशोदादि श्री बलदेवादि श्री गोपिकादि विशिष्टत्वे प्रेमवत्वादेव स्वीय पारमैश्वर्य अन्ननुसन्धानात् शोकमोह रागद्वेष आदयः. Similarly, even though Lord Krishna is constantly an Atmarama, despite that, when he is in the presence of Sri Yashoda and so on, Sri Baladeva and so on, Sri Gopikas and so on, such as Radharani, simply out of love for them, he does not contemplate about his supreme nature, and that is the appearance of Shoka, Moha, Raga, Dvesha and so on. Kintu Shivasya tamoguna udbhutaha te dukkha abhasa anubhavamayah. But this Shoka, Moha, Raga, Dvesha and so on, which are generated from Tamoguna, in Shiva, they are only having a semblance of distress. They only bring about an experience of a sembling of distress in him. Krishnasya prema udbhutaha te ananda paramakashtha anubhavamaya. But the same Shoka, Moha, Raga, Dvesha and so on, which are generated out of pure love in Lord Krishna, they are experiences of the highest summit of bliss. Premnaha chit shakti sarvartitva. Because the love that is experienced by the associates of Lord Krishna towards Lord Krishna, and the love that he experiences for his associates, all of them are aspects of the essence of his spiritual potency. Atma Ramatvasya api asakochakaha. And they do not constrict his nature of being Atmarama. Asuradi himsa adayah tu sattva karya eva gunanam paraspara upamarditva yatha prakashaha anthakaram hanti तथा एव सत्वगुणः तमो रजसी हन्ति तथा एव कृष्णः असुरादे निहन्ति इति शुद्धसत्वरूपे तस्मिन् प्राकृतसत्वकार्याः ते वर्तमानाः अपि न अपकारकाः इति प्रथममेव व्याख्यातम्. सप्तमारम्भे च वक्ष्यते. But what about the lords killing the asuras and so on? These are effects of sattva guna, because the gunas are fighting with one another. Just as illumination destroys darkness, similarly sattva-guna destroys tamoguna and rajoguna. So in that manner, Krishna destroys the asuras and so on. Even though Krishna himself is having a form of Shuddha Sattva, he is entirely possessing the nature of Shuddha Sattva, still the effects of these material sattvas. So you have Prakrita Sattva and you have Aprakrita Sattva, what we commonly refer to as Vishuddha Sattva or Shuddha Sattva. So even though Krishna himself is situated on the platform of Prakrita Sattva, the effects of Prakrita Sattva are still found in him, and they do not disturb him in any manner. That has been explained already in the first canto. At the beginning of the 7th canto, I will explain it again. That Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur notes. When Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe. And remembering those words, he was sorry at heart. Although to please his wife, he smiled. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the liberated person is always in mental equilibrium in both the distress and the happiness of this material world. Therefore, the question may now be raised, why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Daksha. The answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Shiva is Atmarama, or situated in complete self-realization. But because he is the incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, tamoguna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. The difference between the pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but the manifestation of so-called pain is always full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother Yashoda, and Lord Krishna cried. But although he shed tears from his eyes, this is not to be considered a reaction of the mode of ignorance, for the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. We know that from Damodar Ashtaka and Padma Purana. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis, but actually some dealings were full of transcendental bliss. That is the difference between the material and spiritual worlds. The spiritual world, where everything is pure, is pervertedly reflected in this material world. Since everything in the spiritual world is absolute, in the spiritual varieties of apparent pleasure and pain, there is no perception other than eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although a fully self-realized person, was in charge of the material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow. 16. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Tvayoditam shobhanameva shobhane anahuta apyabhiyanti bandhushu te yadyanutpadita dosha drishtayo baliyasanatmyam madena manyona. The great Lord replied, my dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him. Anatmyam. Anatmyam adena manyana. Anatmyam adena manyana. By pride caused by identification with the body. Anatmyam dehadau ahankaraha. By pride caused by identification with the body and so on. Tat kritena madena manyuna. By anger, which comes about because of such pride. Cha te bandhavaha yadi anutpadita dosha drishtayah bhavanti. So if your relatives would not have any vision of faultiness, if they were not to find fault, then one may go to their house. Lord Shiva could foresee that as soon as Sati reached her father's house, her father, Daksha, being too puffed up because of bodily identification, would be angry at her presence. And although she was innocent and faultless, he would be mercilessly angry towards her. Lord Shiva warned that since her father was too puffed up by his material possessions, he would be angry. And this would be intolerable for her. Therefore, it was better that she not go. This fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva, because although Lord Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words. 17. Vidya tapo vitta vapurvayah kulai satam gunai shadbhir asattametarai smrito hatayam bhrita mana durdrashah stabdhana pashyanti dhama bhuyasam. Although the 6 qualities, education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage are for the highly elevated, one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind. And thus he loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. This is an important statement. That even though one may study the Vedas or the Vedic scriptures or the branches of knowledge that help us understand the Vedas, although we may perform various austerities which are set out in the scriptures, or we may be wealthy, we may be beautiful, we may be youthful, we may have a good heritage, and so on. If we become proud of even one of them, then that will lead us to mahad aparadha. It will lead us to offenses to the great souls, which is a very serious problem. Yes, yes.
Prabhu, when we say about the austerity which is performed for the satisfaction of the Lord, actually that should reduce the pride, but rather it does not reduce. Why is it so?
No, austerities are performed, particular types of austerities are performed for particular purposes. There are specific austerities for controlling one's senses and so on through practice. So these have particular purposes, but that doesn't mean that they can prevent you from becoming proud. So for controlling pride, one has to also be submissive to more advanced transcendentalists with body and mind and word, in addition to performing those austerities. One does not do that. It's only engaged in those austerities, and they might lead one to pride. So education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, heritage, all of them, they're very, very useful. But the danger is that they might make us proud, because of which we cannot submit to anyone because we think we are so great, and therefore we will be unable to make progress. We might commit some offense. You see, with Daksha, his problem will, his offensive attitude towards Lord Shiva will give him problem in his current life and next life. You'll see that. This is a very big headache, as you can say. These are all headaches. Nanu vidushaha mat pituhu mudhanamiva doshadrishtihi katam sambhave. But my father is a learned person. How, why would he find fault like foolish persons? How is that possible? Tatra asatam vidya adiyeva anarthahetavaha. For the unsaintly souls, these six qualities, education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage, they themselves are causes for their calamities, anarthas, problems. Ityaha. With all this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Vidyadhibhireva shadbhir gunaihi smritau vivechanayam atayam satyam bhritaha taireva pushtaha ham vidvamsaha तापसः इत्यादि मानः गर्वः तेन दुर्दर्शः अंधाः भूयसां महत्तमानां धाम तेजः न पश्यन्ति. When one considers oneself in terms of these six good qualities, vidya, education, tapas, austerity, vitta, wealth, vapus, beauty of the body, etc., vayas, youth, kula, heritage. So, if these good features are not dealt with because of a lack of discrimination, and these six features are nourished, that means they are grown. You keep growing these. You increase your education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and your sense of heritage and so on. That itself means if you continuously start thinking that, oh, I am a Vidvan, I am a learned person, I am a tapasa, I am a very austere person and so on, and you become proud, then you become blind. What does blind means? You become blind, blinded of, you become blind to the glories of the great souls. There may be so many great souls who may, by Krishna's arrangement, not exhibit any of these. Nanu taihi gunaihi katham smriti bhramshaha. Tatraha satam gunaihi asattamanam tu itaraihi doshaihi. The idea is that these 6 are good for those who are saintly souls. These are all bad for those who are unsaintly souls. Dugdham amrutam api sarpamukhe pravishtam vishameva bhavet. Just as milk is nectar, it gives life. But if it has entered into the mouth of a serpent, then now it is poisonous. Ataha sthaneva gunaha gunayante iti bhava. Excellent point, yes. These are said to be good qualities, but they are good qualities only when they are found in the appropriate place. When they're found in they're found in these persons, saintly souls. If they are not found in saintly souls, then they are actually doshas. They are not gunas. Okay, let me just take another thing. It may be argued that since Daksha was very learned, wealthy, and austere, and had descended from a very exalted heritage, how could he be unnecessarily angry towards none? Daksha was very learned. He was certainly very wealthy, and he did so many austerities. We know, even in his next life, he will perform so much austerity. And he's descended from a very exalted heritage. Brahma, what more you want? How could he be unnecessarily angry towards someone else? The answer is that when the qualities of good education, good parentage, beauty, and sufficient wealth are misplaced in a person who is puffed up by all those possessions, they produce a very bad result. Milk is a very nice food, but when milk is touched by an envious serpent, it becomes poisonous. Similarly, material assets such as education, wealth, beauty, and good parentage are undoubtedly nice. But when they decorate persons of a malicious nature, then they act adversely. It's like beauty in a chaste woman is appreciated, but beauty in an unchaste woman is never appreciated. Amongst those who are interested in moral and spiritual progress. Another example given by Chanakya Pandita is that a serpent that has a jewel on its head is still fearful because it is a serpent. A serpent by nature is envious of other living entities, even though they be faultless. When a serpent bites another creature, it is not necessarily because the other creature is at fault. It is a habit of the serpent to bite innocent creatures. Similarly, although Daksha was qualified by many material assets, because he was proud of his possessions and because he was envious, all those qualities were polluted. It is therefore sometimes detrimental for a person advancing in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness to possess such material assets. Kunti Devi, while offering prayers to Krishna, addressed him as a Kinchana Gochara, one who is easily approached by those who are bereft of all material acquisitions. Material exhaustion is an advantage for advancement in Krishna consciousness, although if one is conscious of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can utilize one's material assets, such as great learning and beauty and exalted ancestry, for the service of the Lord. Then such assets become glorious. In other words, unless one is Krishna conscious, all his material possessions are zero. But when this zero is by the side of the Supreme One, it at once increases in value to 10. Unless situated by the side of the Supreme One, zero is always zero. One may add 100 zeros, but the value will still remain zero. Unless one's material assets are used in Krishna consciousness, they may play havoc and degrade the possessor. So those who cannot utilize their material assets in Krishna service should just abandon them. That's all. Because it is going to drag that person down. 18. Naitadrishanam swajanam vyapekshaya grihan pratiyad anavasthitatmanam yebhyagatan vakradhyabhichakshate aropita bhruvir amarshanakshibbhi na etadrishanam swajana vyapekshaya grihan pratiyat anavasthita atmanam ye abhyagatan vakradhya abhichakshate aropita bhrubhi amarshana akshibhi. One should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. Ataha idrishaha pitra adayaha api upakshayeva tyaha. Therefore, one's father and so on of this kind, if they are of this kind, they should just be neglected. That's all. Ityaha naiteti naetadrishana. Swajana iti ya vishishta apeksha taya nagaccheti. One should not give special consideration. Oh, these are my relatives. Therefore, should not go. Yadi gacchet tada varam shatru buddhya eva gacchet iti bhava. If one were to go, then it is better that one goes with the idea that these are my enemies. Because in any moment anything can happen. Because they are unsaintly. At any moment they may fall under the clutches of the effects of pride. Nano duratmanaha api swa apatya jamatra adishu snikyanti eva. Even if they are wicked souls, still they would be affectionate to their offspring, to their son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and so on. They would be affectionate. Anticipating that, Lord Shiva says, Iti tatraha anavasthita atmanam. Namapi apitesham nischaya iti bhava. Wait, just quickly verify. This is what? 18. Okay. Anavasthitatmanam na ayamapi tesham nischaya iti bhava. Even if their minds were to be controlled, still we cannot say for sure. Ye aropitabhihi bhrubhihi tatha amarshana akshubhihi krodanetraihi abhichakshate pashyanti. Because they will look upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. 19. Okay. Purport. However low a person may be, he is never unkind to his children, wife, and nearest kin. Even a tiger is kind to its cubs, for within the animal kingdom, the cubs are treated very nicely. Since Sati was a daughter of Daksha, however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But here it is indicated by the word anavasthita, that such a person cannot be trusted. Tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it's also known that sometimes they eat them. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they are always unsteady. Thus Sati was advised not to go to her father's house, because to accept such a father as a relative and to go to his house without being properly invited was not suitable. 19. Tatharibhirna vyatate shili mukhai shetirditango pradayena duyata swanam. I'll go get him here. Get from temple.
We have said in temple.
Huh?
Have we said that we have breakfast?
I tell him to tell.
And 8:15 is breakfast. It's already 8:15.
First check in temple. First check in temple.
He's not awake.
Just get from temple. Parivirnam yatate shili mukhai sheterditango hridena duyata swanam yatha vakradhyam duruktibhe divanisham tapyate marmataditaha. Lord Shiva continues. If one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Adrishaha, bandhavaha, shatrubhyata. Shatrubhyapi adhikaha ityaha. These kinds of relatives are actually worse than enemies. Ityaha. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Aribhi prayaktaihi shilimukhaihi. Where is that? Aribhi shilimukhaihi banaihi tatha navyathatte yatah shete kadachit swapiti duyata duyamanena iti uttarena. This is not a complete sentence. It requires the next verse in order to complete it. This is more the unkind words of a relative produces more grief than the arrows of an enemy, because even when one is sleeping, then he remembers and he feels pain. But the arrows of an enemy, you can take it out and you can put some medicine and so on. You can take some treatment and you can become healthy. But these ones are the grief that is caused by such unkind words. Very much they pierce. Sati might have concluded that she would take the risk of going to her father's house, and even if her father spoke unkindly towards her, she would be tolerant, as a son sometimes tolerates the reproaches of his parents. But Lord Shiva reminded her that she would not be able to tolerate such unkind words, because natural psychology dictates that although one can suffer harm from an enemy and not mind so much, because pain inflicted by an enemy is natural, when one is hurt by the strong words of a relative, one suffers the effects continually, day and night, and sometimes the injury becomes so intolerable that one commits suicide, which is what will happen. 20. Vyaktam tvam utkrishtam gateh prajapate priyatmajanamasi subhru me mata tathapi manam na pitu prapatsyase madashrayat kah paritapyate yataha. My dear white complexioned wife, it is clear that of the many daughters of Daksha, you are the pet, yet you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. Mai tatra gatayam na yam shankha iti chet. But you don't need to worry about this when I go there. Anticipating this, Lord Shiva speaks the current verse.
Get from here, not from temple.
Why?
I don't know. It's a problem.
Okay, for both of you, you get from Hagriva. For me, get from temple. They'll give. If they have, they'll give.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be there actually, in the temple.
For what?
When I come to South India, when I'm in Sri Lanka, I'm supposed to be there. I won't be surprised if my Guru Maharaj also tells me, what are you doing outside the temple? There's one department which I'm supposed to run there. Okay. So for me, just ask. That's okay. You people take whatever you want. Just ask. If it's not there, then for me, the second preference get some high grade.
How many dosa's? Masala.
In the temple.
If we get from Ayurveda, how many dosa's will we do? Masala.
So one or two. But yeah, try from the temple. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. Vyaktam. Nishitamev उत्कृष्टगतेरिति विपरीतलक्षणया प्रजापतेर्दक्षस्य आत्मजानां मध्ये त्वं प्रिया अतिस्नेहपात्री भवसि. It is very clear that you are the greatest object of affection amongst the daughters of Daksha, Prajapati Daksha. That much is very, very clear. But tathapi, tadapi, pituh prakasha, manam na pratipatsyase, na prapsyase. You will not be honored there. Yataha madashrayat, mat sambandha, because you've been sheltered by me. You are related to me. Lord Shiva put forward the argument that even if Sati proposed to go alone without her husband, still she would not be received well because she was his wife. There was every chance of a catastrophe, even if she wanted to go alone. Therefore, Lord Shiva indirectly requested her not to go to her father's house. 21. Papacchamanena hridaturendriya samriddhibhih purusha buddhi sakshinam akalpa esham adhirodhum manjasa param padam dveshti yathasura harim. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the standard of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanu Bhagavans tada tvaya va daksham prati manasa kinchit dushtam. Tatra nahi nahi iti shapatam kurvan dakshaha matsari sadaeva asmad adin dveshti samprati mad aparadham kalpayatva dvesham prakatayamasa ityaha. Then Lord Shiva anticipates that Devi will be thinking, oh Lord, in your mind, you have some hatred towards Daksha. So then Lord Shiva wants to say, no, not at all. I promise you, Daksha is envious by nature. He always hates me and others. Right now, he considers that I have committed an offense towards him, and he manifests his hatred towards me. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Esham asmad adina samruddhibhihi yoga ishwarya adibhihi hetubhihi papacchamanena jajvalyamanena hrida atura indriya dveshti yatha asuraha harim. It is because of yoga ishwarya and so on. His heart burns with hatred. His senses are very much disturbed. So he hates like that. Exactly as how the Asuras hate Lord Hari. Idrishaha esham param sarvotkrishtam padam anirodam akalpaha samartha. What kind of person are we talking of? We are talking about one who is incapable of climbing on to the most exalted status of spiritual realization. Asmakam tu dakshe tvatpitari dveshal deshaha api nasti. But I have not even the slightest amount of hatred towards Daksha, your father. Iti vadan vishinashti. Expressing this, he presents the details. Purushaha parameshvara eva buddhehe bhadrayaha abhadraya va sakshi yesham tesham. Those whose intelligence are fixed on the Supreme Lord. He's explaining this word, Purusha Buddhi Sakshina, of those who are always absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Lord. Under all circumstances, in auspicious circumstances and in inauspicious circumstances. So for those who are like this, there is so much hatred. Hey Dakshayani, yadi tvam na pratyeshi, if you don't believe me, tada kshanam samadhina parameshwaram sakshat kritya mad dosha guna saiva prashtavyati bhava. You don't believe? For a moment enter into samadhi and directly experience the Supreme Lord Krishna, and you ask him directly about my fault or my good quality. That is the implication here. The real reason for the enmity between Lord Shiva and Daksha is explained here. Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva because of Shiva's high position as an incarnation of a quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because Shiva was directly in contact with the Super Soul and was therefore honored and given a better sitting place than he. There were many other reasons also. Daksha, being materially puffed up, could not tolerate the high position of Lord Shiva. So his anger at Lord Shiva's not standing up in his presence was only the final manifestation of this anger. Lord Shiva is always in meditation and always perceives the Super Soul, as expressed here by the words Purusha Buddhi Sakshina. The position of one whose intelligence is always absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of God is very great and cannot be imitated by anyone, especially an ordinary person. When Daksha entered the arena of Yajna, Lord Shiva was in meditation and might not have seen Daksha enter, but Daksha took the opportunity to curse him because Daksha had maintained an envious attitude towards Lord Shiva for a long time. Those who are actually self-realized see every individual body as a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this Paramatma feature is residing in everyone's body. When one offers respect to the body, it is not to the material body, but to the presence of the Supreme Lord. Thus, one who is always in Thus, one who is always in meditation upon the Supreme Lord is always offering him obeisances. But since Daksha was not very elevated, he thought that obeisances were offered to the material body. So Daksha thought that if Shiva were to offer obeisances unto Daksha, he's actually offering obeisance to Daksha, considering Daksha's position as being his superior. Whereas spiritualists actually, when they offer obeisances unto some elevated person, they are actually offering obeisances unto Lord Vishnu, the super soul of that person. And because Lord Shiva did not offer respect to his material body, Daksha became envious. Such persons, being unable to rise to the standard of self-realized souls like Lord Shiva, are always envious. The example given here is very suitable. Asuras, demons or atheists are always envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They simply want to kill him. Even in this age, we find some so-called scholars commenting on Bhagavad Gita who are envious of Krishna. When Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakta, always think of me, become my devotee and surrender unto me, the so-called scholars comment that it is not to Krishna that we have to surrender. That is envy. The asuras or atheists, the demons, without reason or cause, are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, instead of offering respect to self-realized persons, foolish men who cannot approach the highest standard of self-realization are always envious, although there is no reason. 22. Pratyudgama prasprayanabhivadanam vidhiyate sadhu mitassu madhyame Ragyash parasmai purushaya chetasa guhashaya yaiva nadeha manine. My dear young wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up, welcoming one another, and offering obeisances. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, offer such respects to the super soul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body. Nanu satyam tvad dveshta eva iti pratyeshi tadapi shvashure tasmin pratyuthana vinayadikam uchitam eva ityataha. Okay, it is true that Daksha hates you. If you were to think, if you were to believe that this is the case, if you were to accept that, yes, it's a fact that you are that he is actually hateful. Still, is it not appropriate? I mean, it is appropriate that you should stand up and you should be humble to your father-in-law. You should exhibit behavior like that. It is certainly appropriate. With all this in mind, he speaks. Pratyudgamanabhivadana pratyabhivadana mitah janaihi yad vidhiyate tat pragyaih parasmai purushaya guhashaya eva. This getting up, coming forward to greeting, reciprocal, greeting back in reciprocation, and so on. These codes of conduct that have been spelled out in the scriptures, they are carried out by the enlightened only for the pleasure of the Supreme Purusha who is residing within the hearts of these persons. Chetasa atra mat shvashure mat yamatari cha parameshwaraha vartate. Within the mind, one should consider. So the Supreme Lord Vishnu is residing in the heart of my son-in-law, in the heart of my father-in-law. Tasmai namaha iti bhavanaya eva vidhiyate. And the Vedic scriptures which say that you should offer obeisances to your superiors and so on, they intend to convey this, that with this consciousness that the Supreme Lord Vishnu is situated within the heart of these respectable persons. Like for instance, when it says one should offer respects to one's mother, father, guru, teacher, and so on, it is actually to Lord Vishnu who is situated within the heart of the mother, father, guru, teacher, and so on. Even the demigods are meant to be honored in this particular manner. When it says that one should worship Surya, it actually means one should worship Lord Vishnu, the super soul of Surya. Antaryami puja. Iti bhavanaya vidhiyate. This is the scriptural injunction. To dehamanine, not to that soul who is identifying with that body. Apragyahi tu parameshwara smarana abhava dehamanine eva vidhiyate. But for those who, so this is the prescription for those who are enlightened, spiritually enlightened. For those who are not spiritually enlightened, the injunction is, okay, you offer your respects to the person who is identifying with that body because they are not engaging in remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Natat samyak, that is not good. Ataha daksha agaman samaye Sri Bhagavat Charana samahita chetasvat यद्यपि दक्षः मया न दृष्टः तदपि भगवत् सम्मानेन दक्ष सम्मानः अभूदेव. So when Daksha had come at that time, at that momentous hour, my mind was absorbed in samadhi on the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavan Vishnu. So even though I did not see Daksha at that time, by honoring Bhagavan Narayana, my honor for Daksha had already taken place. Dakshastu agyani vritha kupyati iti bhava. The implication is, but Daksha is ignorant. Unnecessarily is angry at me. It may be argued that since Daksha was the father-in-law of Lord Shiva, it was certainly the duty of Lord Shiva to offer him respect. In answer to that argument, it is explained here that when a learned person stands up or offers obeisances and welcomes, he offers respect to the super soul who is sitting within everyone's heart. Among Vaishnavas, therefore, it is seen that even when a disciple offers obeisances to a spiritual master, the spiritual master immediately returns the obeisances because they are mutually offered not to the body but to the super soul. Therefore, the spiritual master also offers respect to the super soul situated in the body of the disciple. The Lord says in Srimad Bhagavatam that offering respect to his devotee is more valuable than offering respect to him. Devotees do not identify with the body. So offering respect to a Vaishnava means offering respect to Vishnu. It is stated also that as a matter of etiquette, as soon as one sees a Vaishnava, one must immediately offer him respect, indicating the super soul sitting with it. So when one sees a Vaishnava, one must immediately offer respect to the super soul in the heart of that Vaishnava. Now, Vaishnava sees the body as a temple of Vishnu. Since Lord Shiva had already offered respect to the super soul in Krishna consciousness, the super soul of Daksha, because he was already meditating on his Lord, who is also the super soul of Daksha. Offering respect to Daksha, who identified with this body, was already performed. There was no need to offer respect to his body, for that is not directed by any Vedic injunction. Okay, we'll stop with that. Okay, question.
But Prabhu, we see that the super soul is already pervaded everywhere. So why this etiquette is made that whenever one see some person, some Vaishnava, then he should offer the obeisances to super soul?
Because the Lord wants to be respected along with specific personalities who are meant to be accepted as authorities in Vedic civilization. Therefore, there is the expression Acharya Devo Bhava, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, and so on, Atithi Devo Bhava, and so on. So these personalities are meant to be given special honor, provided, of course, there are terms and conditions, provided the mother, father, guru, or Acharya, and Atithi here refers actually to a Vaishnava, according to Baladev Vidyabhushana Prabhu. Provided those Vaishnavas are carrying out the respective duties in remembrance of Lord Vishnu, or even otherwise, they are at least carrying out the duties which are anyway come out from the Vedic scriptures, which are breathed out by Lord Vishnu. So the Lord wants that society function in a particular manner with due respect to particular posts. So you might be somebody might be in the post of a teacher, or somebody else might be in the post of a father or a mother or a father-in-law, mother-in-law, and so on, elder brother, elder sister, and so on. The Lord wants that all of them should be honored in particular manners. So even though, like demigods, for instance, demigods are meant to be respected, but they're not meant to be respected independently. In other words, one cannot think that I will separately offer respects to Lord Krishna, and I will separately offer respects to, for instance, Lord Surya, considering that Lord Surya is independent of Krishna. That is wrong. So when one is injuncted, when one is ordered to offer respects to the demigods or the rishis or superior human beings or particular God-assigned authorities, mother, father, teacher, a saintly authority, and so on. This is all meant to be given for Lord Vishnu as a super soul. So there's a larger social context within which all of this is there. Those who are absorbed in complete samadhi, they do not need to do any of these things. Those who are absorbed in complete samadhi, they do not need to do these things. It is not an offense for them. Like, for instance, that Shamika Rishi, he was absorbed in samadhi. So therefore, he was not expected to be respectful to the king. because he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. Honestly, he was not cheating. He was not a mithyachara suchyate type. So when we study again and again and again Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita and so on, we gradually begin to understand the different aspects of the society within which the Vaishnava injunctions are meant to be carried out. Okay, I'll stop with that. We'll resume in the next session. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.